to me, right now, it's about building superstars and recognizable faces and names. That's what's going to help grow the sport. We've lost a lot of them, in a short period of time, and it's about building them back up. And I think William is on the cusp of doing that by going to victory lane, winning races, and leading as many laps as he has, and that just opens up more doors and opportunities to get him in front of more kind of mainstream media, or get his face and name out there, that I think will continue to help grow the sport. It's come along at a great time. Not to mention, I run into a lot of 24 fans all the time that say they miss me not being out there, and I just quickly say, well, yeah, but you're a William Byron fan, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So I know they're really happy that that 24 with William is still getting it done out there.
And when you talked about William dealing with more, being more of a mainstream face. You did a lot of that during your career just because you were so recognizable. So what have you told him, and what do you tell him now about dealing with that?
Well, it's just the opportunities have to present themselves, and it can come through a sponsor, it can come through maybe something that NASCAR, has set up, or it comes from winning races, or, something that sort of resonates with either mainstream media or the fans, or fans that are outside the sport, casual fans. So, I just tell them, keep doing what you're doing, but I think I've made this pretty clear in the past. I do want our drivers to reach just slightly outside their comfort zone when it comes to the media and opportunities, just so they can open up more doors for their own brand, and it helps us sell sponsors, and I think it helps grow the sport.
Ed Laukus, who was the president of Toyota, was a friend of all of ours. He's still doing great, but he's not in charge of motorsports at NASCAR anymore. He said something to me I'll never forget. He said, as soon as those NASCAR Cup cars change their paint jobs, they dilute everything. So all I have to do, Bobby, is see the color green, and I think of Bobby Labonte. Yeah. I like what you said back then. And me and you aren't doing that. I ran through the snow in a foot of snow, and we're not doing that. But what you're saying that I do want to comment on, I want to compliment you. You are brilliant, because Ed Laukus said that. So we made superstars back then because Earnhardt was the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. Rusty Wallace was Miller. Jeff Gordon
Terry was Kellogg's.
Yeah, right. So it is, of my opinion, that we have this small circle now. The names, Joey Logano's a two-time champion. Yes, he's a legend. He kind of got in right at that. But for me, it is harder nowadays to make superstars, because every race, it's like, okay, what car is Ross Chastain driving? Oh, he's driving Fred's towing now. And then tomorrow he'll be driving
the moose car.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point. It's very hard to make NASCAR superstars because we don't know what the hell car they're in.
All right. And that's where Interstate Battery, Coca-Cola put my name, when I had a stand-up every weekend at the racetrack in a Walmart or in a Food Lion or
they knew you.
Kroger's or whatever. And so, that's one thing. Now, saying that, and let me just say it this way, is I would love to see Eric Jones, a Christopher Bell, a Ross Chastain, just to name a few, to have that household name, and be able to earn that money, you're known so much more, not from the Mellon last lap deal, but for being there consistently, and I can't do nothing about the sponsorship, but I want those guys to be able to have that long career, flourish, and not and enjoy it like I did. Now how do you do that?
You didn't have to be a race fan. You just walked in somewhere and you're like, wow, there's a stand-up of Bobby Labonte. And when they saw you, they made millions of stand-ups.
Yeah, Kurt Busch, Sharpie, that was huge, right? So to me, back then the connection was easy because of what you said, all the cars, the drivers, and it just made it easy, right? Harder now. So it's tougher. So how do you bridge that gap, or how do you help that gap out?
Yeah.
And I think, obviously Jeff Gordon going to be owning, or, so big with Hendrick. I mean, he's running it, right? Jimmy Johnson coming in. Absolutely. Kevin Harvick going to the booth, Boyer in the booth, Burtondale Jr. on NBC. So the TV thing. So drivers are involved, but I think there's a way. I mean, how can there be a way that I can say that I can promote not just one driver, but, promote drivers? Because what happens to me is whenever I was in the mid 90s, people would say, man, I picked you because Davey Allison got killed and you're my next favorite driver.
Yeah, right.
Or I picked you because so-and-so retired, you're my next favorite driver.
I hear it all the time.
But what happens then is it was easier for the dad to bring the kid to the race and enjoy the weekend because it didn't cost so much. And it was just, you didn't have to, you had to come watch it or you weren't going to get to watch it. Right. So then today there's a bigger disconnect in the kids being brought by the dads. So I see the dads now because he was a kid when he remembered me. He's bringing his kid, but it's just not quite the same. So if he can connect me and his kid, then hopefully as impressionable as kids are today, that they'll go, oh, NASCAR. I remember my dad took me there, instead of like, I went to some race and I don't remember it because I was blah, 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 and too busy looking at my phone, Yeah. So how do you connect all that together? And I think everybody does a great job at grassroots racing. It kind of puts people out there, the SRX gets the, different, I mean, I think it's all there, but it's just how, it's just, how do you keep up with that? And how do you keep the 55-year-old guy with his 12-year-old kid or 8-year-old kid or whatever, how does he get him involved in NASCAR where he's a fan? So how do you get that happening?
And this is not a dig. This is me. The reason we are where we're at is because we're not balanced anymore. We don't need $10 million to run the year. We need 20 million. So therefore, there's no corporate company in America. There's not one corporate company in America that you go, hey, I need $20 million. I think the last one could be FedEx. And we know for a fact, and then this is me saying this, we know that Denny Hamlin is possibly the highest paid driver right now, maybe making $6 million base. And there's ones making 400,000 base that are running in the top 10. And this is all because we can't get that money. So we're out of whack. The sport costs too much for the money you can get. And that's why we have a different sponsor every single week on the card. I just wanted to say that. So penalties and fines.
But I think that NASCAR I think there's for the way the society is, I think NASCAR is doing a great job at a lot of things. So, it's also, they were dealt cards 20 years ago and they handled it this way, and they're dealt cards now and they handle it this way.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're not doing the wrong thing. It's just learning the new thing.